This is going to be my last hand.
The following is a story about how I got way in over my head in Vegas against a maniac poker player. But first, I just want to say I love the Resorts World Casino. It's got an amazing setup. They didn't pay me to say this, but I enjoy the fact that there's a lot of space, the food's great, and they allow poker vlogs. All right, so I bought in for $500 and I sat down at a table that I didn't know would stay in my mind forever. This is a 2-5 table that's really a story about two players. Player A is a maniac that opens every single hand to about $50. He is to my left. To my right is a tight, aggressive poker regular who talks about all the different poker rooms he plays at. He has a backpack. Really nice guy, but I'd like to limit the pots that I'm in with him. Now, when I wasn't recording, an interesting hand happened between the maniac and the regular. The regular had pocket aces and somehow got stacked because the maniac had 9 deuce suited that turned into a flush. This was a $1,000 plus pot, so there was a lot of pre-flop action. You couldn't get this guy off of his flush draws. So I decided I want to go up against him with any pocket pair that I have. This isn't smart advice. This isn't advice that you guys should take. This was just my pride that I was sick and tired of being bullied by a player at my table. So really early on in the night, I get pocket aces, one of my favorite hands in poker because, well, it's the best starting hand. That's actually why it's my favorite hand. I decide to limp here because I'm waiting for the maniac to bump it up to, you guessed it, $50. And he does that. However, the under the gun player to my right makes it $255. He limp raises. So in this situation, he has a very strong hand, but I definitely have a stronger hand here. So I make it $400. Now in hindsight, this was a horrible decision, cost me money. The maniac folds, and now all of a sudden, I'm up against player B. He calls. The flop is 2, Jack, 6. Player B checks, and I decide to c-bet for $300, and he folds. I honestly could have got more money out of this, but I just got scared with aces that I was somehow going to lose. Hindsight, I wish I would have played this hand better. For the rest of the night, I basically just wanted to be going against the maniac, so I folded ace-jack in position against the tight aggressive player. I basically waved the white flag with jacks after I didn't hit the flop, also to the same player. And that's when I looked down at pocket nines. Very on brand, the maniac makes it $50, but then all of a sudden, another player to his left bumps it up to $200. Now with pocket nines, it's probably a fold here. However, this player hasn't played many hands, and I'm really interested to see what happens after the flop. So I decide to call the $200, and believe it or not, the maniac comes along for $200. Now the flop is king of hearts, ace of spades, 6 of clubs. I decide I'm going to check it down. The maniac checks, and the second player checks. The turn is a 4 of spades. I'm not a pro, and you definitely shouldn't do this, but I bet out $200. The maniac snap calls, but the second player looks at his cards for a while and decides to fold. Now the river is thankfully an 8 of clubs. No flush came, but I'm only getting called by better here, so I check. Luckily, he checks, and I show my nines early like an idiot. He mucks. I win a $600 pot, but the other player says,
I folded queens.
No.
Somehow, my weird bet there got him out of the hand, and we picked up a $600 pot. The next hand I had against the maniac, I have pocket tens. He opens for a shockingly low $30. And I want to play heads up against him as much as possible, so I just call $30. The flop is 3 of hearts, jack of hearts, 10 of clubs. I hit the set here and decide that I'm going to make this $50. He snap calls. The turn is a 2 of hearts. Great. The flush gets there. My set's not going to be good enough, and he bets out $100. Now, I almost fold here, but I have so many outs. I don't think with his $30 pre-flop bet that ace-queen, ace-king is in his range, so I decide that I'm going to call. The river is a king of hearts, which is actually a great card for me. He doesn't have ace-queen here. There's no chance that he would have raised just $30 based on his previous play. He bets out $225. It puts me to the test, but I decide that I am going to make a call here, and if I'm beat, I'm beat. He shows 4-5 of hearts, and I take down an $800 pot. Now, the last hand that I played against the maniac is one of the worst hands I've probably ever played. I have pocket queens, I'm in the button, and maniac is the big blind. I bet out $25, and he bumps it to $125. He obviously has a hand he likes, so I make it $525. He just calls. Now there's a voice in my head that says, great, he doesn't have aces or kings, but another voice that's saying, if he does, I'm in trouble. The flop is 8 of diamonds, jack of clubs, 2 of diamonds. He checks, and I bet $500 more. He calls. The turn is a 3 of hearts, and the maniac goes all in. I have about $875 behind. I don't really see a world that I can fold here because I've made myself pot committed. Great job, Matt. I call, the river's a 3 of clubs, and I just say I have queens. He never shows. Somehow pocket queens are good here. He has to have had ace king. I don't know what else he could have that would make much sense. I won a $4,000 pot and immediately call it a night. If you want to watch better poker players than me, then check out my interviews with Phil Hellmuth and Eric Persson. If you want to watch more reckless poker play, subscribe. I got more coming your way.